Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Guess who fired Joe?
Nick did.
Joe no mo. No, I'm kidding.
He gone.
Joe's still with us, guys, but we're recording here on a Sunday afternoon, and Joe, as you know, has not watched any of Picard, so we said, you're free to go, Joe.
Yes.
We don't need you no mo.
And we
Joe.
kind of put it together last minute because of me.
Yeah. So what happened? So anyways, welcome to our online review of Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 10. All good things.
The Last Generation.
The Last Generation. Or is it Must Come to an End? What was it called?
Last Generation.
Was it called The Last Generation?
Yeah.
I thought it was All Good Thing, and it was called Must Come to an End or something like that.
You're a liar.
Wow, it is called The Last Generation.
He doubted me.
I've been wrong. So, anyways, that's what we're reviewing today. It's a good episode.
It was a good episode.
It's a good episode. So let me start off, folks, by giving you a summary of the episode. And, of course, as you know, spoiler alert, you've probably all seen it by now, or else you wouldn't be tuning it. I know, right?
Yeah.
So Picard and the crew, they find the Borg crew. It's in Jupiter, and that's where people go to get more stupider. And they beam onto the ship. Picard beams onto the ship with Riker and Worf, and they basically all say their goodbyes. They assume they're all going to die. It's all set up like they're going to die. They're not going to make it. And Picard's roaming around. He finds Jack. Jack has officially been assimilated. He's a Borg now, and he's in the collective. And then he hears the Queen calling to him, and there's the Queen. She's disfigured. She's torn up. And Picard's like, you want me, you don't want him. And the Queen's like, nah, bro, I don't want you anymore. I got Jack. And Jack and I are good. In fact, we found a new way to assimilate all you people. And now it's not even about assimilation. It's about annihilation. We can procreate now. So now that we can procreate, we're just going to wipe off everything in the face of the universe and just all be Borg together. And he's like, no, stop, don't. And he stops it. No, I'm kidding. But he has to go into the collective to save Jack. And basically he goes into the collective and tells Jack, you're not alone, even though you feel alone, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, they rescue Jack. There's a harrowing rescue scene where the Enterprise is sweeping through the Borg cube and it does its magic. And they beam out just in time. All this is happening while Seven is fighting for control of the Titan. And she is able to regain control of the bridge, and they are able to retake. They're able to basically not die because right when they're about to get murdered, Picard, they blow up the Borg cube. So Seven is victorious. Everyone's fine. And then we get an ending where Jack is now, it looked like he was a lieutenant, I think. He had Lieutenant Pips.
He needed to be an ensign. It's got to start off at the bottom.
He needs to be an ensign, right? But, I mean, ensign...
Poor Harry Kim.
Yeah, poor Harry Kim. So Jack is now an ensign, and they go to the new ship with Beverly's with Picard, and as they're getting ship, they see it's been rechristened. It's now the Enterprise G. The Titan is the Enterprise G. Who's the captain of the Titan? None other than Captain 7 of 9, with her first officer, Raffi. So that's the new Enterprise crew with the LaForge daughter on there, with a Crusher, with Seven and Raffi. So they go off and live happily ever after. Then the Enterprise crew ends with a nice poker game.
Nice touch.
They're having a good time, drinking together, having a blast together. And there's a couple end credit stinger things that they do. They have Data going to therapy, and then finally it ends with Jack in his quarters, and Q reappears, and Jack says, I thought the trial was over. Yeah, Picard's trial is over, but yours has just begun. Fade to black. Episode ends. Okay. So
let's start off at the beginning with Walter Koenig.
Oh, as Anton Chekhov.
Yeah, a little throwback to Anton Yelchin, who played Chekhov.
Yes.
Nice touch.
Nice touch. A really nice feature. One of the cool things that I read online was that they said that he stays out of the accent, but then when he's quoting the words of his father, he goes into the accent, the Chekhov accent a little bit, which I did catch up. I rewatched a little bit and I caught it.
Oh, you rewatched it?
Just parts of it, not the whole thing.
Yeah. The line about if my dad were here, they do that a lot this season. With this person was here, it's just all right. Come on.
You know, it's funny because you and I watched that one together, and I really liked that touch until he said, "If my father was here." It's like it's too much. Like, don't bash me over the head with the fan service. Like, we're already gonna get it, so just let it live on its own.
Would it be his grandpa?
Would it be his grandfather? I don't know.
You would think it'd be his grandfather.
Maybe not, because they live a lot longer now. Chekhov could have
true.
had a kid at 80.
That's true. And McCoy lived to the first season of the Next Generation.
He was 130 or something like that. He was super old.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe Chekhov was just getting it on for a long time.
I don't know. Regardless, I liked it. It was a nice touch. No one expected it.
Yep.
It was
a
great.
nice surprise.
It was great. What's funny about this episode is that you had talked a lot about how much you hated the Borg as a villain.
Yes.
But I felt like they did a good job not going too heavy into the Borg, but at the same time they were. I don't know.
They did a nice job making me feel better about the situation in this episode versus the last episode.
Yeah. I was expecting, in some sense, a wholly rebuilt Borg fleet.
Okay.
Turns out it's only one vessel.
Again, I appreciate it. And, when they were taking on the Enterprise D,
mm-hmm.
they're taking on the D.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get Jack off in there. Maybe that explains why the D could stand up so much is because that Borg cube itself was weakened.
Yeah. She was the only one really doing it.
Yeah, so maybe that's why the Enterprise D was able to stand up to it so long. But with her evolution of we want to annihilate versus assimilate, and it made me feel a lot better about Borg now versus I did last episode.
At least they've evolved in some shape or form. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, they're officially gone now because the Queen is dead, even though we've seen the Queen die before. A lot, yeah. But we knew that was the last Borg ship. We'd already heard in the previous Picard that all the Borg cubes have shut down and they were doing experiments on them. We only saw 2 Borg actually come to life in this episode and they were rotting.
Yeah.
So I think it seems pretty clear they're gone.
They were a little more mobile, though, in this episode than in the past. I was like, all right, so Worf and Riker had a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, and Worf wanted to use the sword because it's more fun.
And then Riker tried to pick it up.
Yeah, and he couldn't pick it up, which is a nice touch.
It was kind of funny.
I like when they do things like that, which we've seen Jadzia use the Batleth, no problem.
Different Batleth, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But it was a nice touch. I liked it.
Yeah, it was nice.
I'm trying to think where to go. There's a lot of meat in here that I really liked. Mainly the interactions between the crew. Specifically, man, they were on to something in this season of Picard between Worf and Riker.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like
And Worf and Raffi, too, which I didn't really like Raffi till this season-ish.
Yeah. Raffi has really come around, but she was a redemption arc. That was the whole point of her story, right? Yep. She was kind of lost when we meet her in season 1, and she's finally come around. But this whole, like, the Worf and Riker interaction reminded me a lot of Bones and Spock.
Yep.
Or, yeah, Bones and Spock, sorry.
Yeah.
Can't talk. It reminded me a lot about how Bones would pick at him, and he would just take it, which Worf is just taking because he doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know, and like there's
pacifist.
a point he's like, let's make it a threesome. And Riker's like,
do you hear yourself?
You know, things like that, you know, or, you know, the Worf's comment when he's like, you know, this is great because I came in here thinking that we were going to live or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That.
Yeah.
What was his message? Yeah, something, you know.
Disappointed that he wasn't going to die.
Yeah, I was getting disappointed that we were actually going to make it out of here or something like that.
And they did enough to make you believe for like a split second that there might be somebody who's dying. Like even when Picard leaves the bridge.
His goodbye to them. Yeah, his goodbye to Riker and
them on the Borg cube.
Absolutely. And I actually thought they were killing off Picard. Because to me, his story's done. But then I read an interview with Terry Matalas, and he's like, why would we kill Picard? They killed him already in the first season.
Which is a great, great point.
It's like, we've already killed him. He was put in a golem body, whatever. So it's like, it defeats the whole point. He's like, and I don't want to do something where you're basically burying the captain under a pile of rocks.
Yep.
Like
Kirk.
So he didn't like that story, so he didn't want to do it. That's not his role, is to kill captains. I appreciated that.
I thought it was going to be Picard, Riker, or Worf. I thought those were the three that were going to die.
Worf's story could have an ending, I could say.
Well, he got shot twice, and you're like, here it comes.
Riker could have died, but he had just recovered things with Deanna. They were okay, on good terms again. In fact, I got the vibe, you know, so the storyline was that she had started going into his head and blocking his emotions and everything that. His pain. My impression was that he was basically so dead inside that she couldn't feel anything from him. And the reason they were able to locate him is because she felt him again. Because remember where she's like, I know where they're at?
Yeah. And she didn't crash the ship by taking over the helm.
She didn't crash the ship. Good job.
I know.
Good job. She's 1 for 3 now.
Yeah.
She's 1 for 3. But yeah, she did, I like that storyline. I like Beverly behind the con, and she's like, a lot's happened in 20 years.
Yeah.
As she's blowing everyone up. There was some really, this felt, the one thing I will say is this season, more particularly this episode, was fun.
Yes. Star
Trek, I don't know. It's so interesting because Deep Space Nine isn't really fun. It's pretty serious. There's fun humor in there.
It has Quark, after all.
Yeah. But it's weird for me to say that. It needs to be fun again. It's lots of fun. Yeah, I think that's a big part of Discovery's problem. It takes itself way too serious. Strange New Worlds is serious, but it's fun.
Yeah,
it doesn't take itself too serious. Discovery.
Meanwhile, you love Battlestar Galactica.
Oh my gosh, it takes itself, but it's not meant to be Star Trek, right? Star Trek's meant to be a different, hopeful, optimistic world, right? And you see that more with Picard.
Yep.
You have your character flaws and everything, but ultimately they're optimistic people. And it was nice to have that fun. And I just kind of wish the whole season was as much fun, particularly the second 2/3, the second half of the season. The first 4 or 5 episodes knocked it out of the park.
It was the first 6, I think, that were great.
Oh, I think I was the first 4
7, 8, 9, where it's kind of like, eh.
But I really enjoyed this final episode a lot. There was, if I had to point out issues I have with it, maybe it would be we didn't get a resolution between Beverly and Picard. In fact, I'm a little annoyed that Beverly's choice to keep his son from him is so glossed over, and it's almost like...
Well, there was a lot else going on. How are you going to focus on that when you have everything else going on?
I know, but this thing where, and his goodbye to her, he's like, you did what was right, blah, blah, blah. I don't like those kinds of storylines where you keep a child away from a parent without even letting the other parent know that child exists. I don't like those stories. I have a hard time.
That's the biggest down for this episode?
For me, it is.
Okay.
I have a really hard time seeing Beverly as the good here. Like, what her decision was a truly vile decision in my mind. Now, part of it could be because I like my kid. I don't know. I struggle with her decision.
That's fair.
So that's my big take, because their final conversation where he thought he was going to die.
Yep.
And she's trying to say, I'm sorry. And he's like, you don't owe me an apology.
Maybe he's thinking he's dead, and he's like, all right, there's no reason, because it is Picard after all. There is no reason to focus on the past. Yeah. I'm dead. Let's make her feel good.
Yeah.
Peace.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That's a good point.
How maneuverable the Enterprise D was, a Galaxy-class starship?
It's funny because I was looking online and people were complaining about that. I think that's great. They didn't have the budget to do it before.
But they weren't supposed to be maneuverable. They're just big old ships.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why you had the Defiance and the Voyagers.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I will say...
I mean, shoot, there was the Odyssey that couldn't even get out of the way of the Jem'Hadar ship that took a run at its neck.
Well, very few sci-fi shows are able to nail the power of the bigger ships without making them like that, right? Yep. I think a show that does it really well, I think Battlestar Galactica does it really well. It shows
Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica.
But you see why you need a Battlestar, and you see why you need the fighter pilots, the Vipers.
And
I thought the need for the difference.
And I thought that's what's nice about, even with the original series with the Enterprise A, is those were submarine battles, and then you brought in like the Defiance and the smaller ships that could be more maneuverable.
And now you have the D zipping around.
Yeah, zipping around, and the joy on Data's face though was a lot of fun though.
That was him smiling. What was the one scene too? Even where they were standing in the Borg cube room, and the Enterprise D comes in over top of them.
That's a cool shot.
Such a cool shot. Like there were some really good shots of the D. I love when they get good shots.
Man,
of the D.
I just like the D over my head. And that was great. It just over my head, and I look up, and there's the
as
D.
much D as I can see over top of
absolutely.
me. Absolutely.
The more D, the better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What do you guys think? More D?
Do you want more D?
I want more D.
Yeah, I want more D. But so then we get the Enterprise G.
Yep. It's not the OG. It's the G.
It's the G. The G. So the Titan gets renamed the G. And it's the Neo Constitution class. So so now we're going back, because it used to be the Enterprises were getting bigger, sleeker, more powerful. The whole thing about the Enterprise was never it was the most powerful ship. It was a ship with character. Like you said, the ship was a character.
The ship was a character.
And it was a flagship of the fleet, not again because it was the most powerful vessel, but it was your best commanders, the best of the best.
It was the stature of the ship. So now you have the G, which is not the strongest ship. We've already seen it get its butt kicked multiple times. Yep.
The Titan now being the G, and you have 7 as the captain. You like that? Hate that?
I like it. I like it just fine. I like it just fine. I'm a little surprised Starfleet's okay with a couple being commander.
I think they broke up.
First officer. I think they imply that they're
back
good
together.
Now.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too. Like, how do they pull the wool over the eyes of Starfleet on that?
And then the special advisor to the captain is maybe shacking up with the con officer.
Yeah, that's a little true. But you know what? That was Deep Space Nine. I mean, they were all sleeping together. Next Generation, Riker had a relationship with multiple people in that crew.
Was it the crew though? It was always like the alien of the week.
Oh, but it was Deanna. I mean, there was people on the crew.
That was a past relationship.
Tasha and Data, they had a thing.
Yeah, ramming speed.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I guess.
There was one thing that Terry Matalas said he wished he could have went in here was some romance this season. I like it better without it. I think Next Generation, the original series, without like main character romance, thrived on it.
I still think we got it in some. You get the little nuggets between Deanna. Riker and Deanna. I don't think you're right. You don't need it.
I don't
think this season needed it.
I think it was better without it.
I think it can. For the purpose of this season, I don't think it would have been good. But I could see how if they decided to do other seasons, which they won't, it's very clear this is a wrap up for the next show. It's clear. In fact, I think this would hurt this story if they continued it on, especially that last poker scene.
Yeah.
Fine to bring them in here and there.
Yeah.
But don't put them together anymore.
I'm on board for a 7 of 9 series, Legacy, or whatever they want to call it.
You know what? I came around on. I ended up liking him towards the end. He was a little bit cocky and arrogant.
He still is, but at least him in smaller doses, I think, would benefit from him being smaller doses.
I liked Sidney LaForge is a good character.
The bridge crew.
I liked Raffi. I liked 7 as a captain, honestly. I liked her scene with Tuvok at the end. That was a great scene.
Well, even when
Shaw got his redemption, he was going to recommend her as a captain.
Like even when Shaw was listing her abilities and pros and cons, it sounded a little bit like Kirk to me.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't follow the rules, does what needs to be done instead. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
she doesn't sleep around like Kirk does, though.
No. Kirk.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe she does.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I hope we get a Star Trek Legacy series.
Paramount Plus.
Make it happen. Well, yeah. Well, that's a whole other conversation we're going to have on our show next week because there's a movie every other year. There's a Section 31 movie coming out.
The Strange New Worlds.
New Worlds.
So what was your biggest positive of this episode before we get lost?
Biggest positive this episode. It's hard for me to point down a single moment, but overall I would say this is truly the Picard we were promised when they said they were going to make a Picard series. Like this is what I expected. I expected a continuation of the Next Generation, not of the Next Generation crew per se, but of Jean-Luc Picard. And we got Jean-Luc Picard again, finally. And
especially in this episode,
we had a really great wrap up with the crew, and I'm really happy with that.
It seems like Picard came into more of his own once he got on the D.
Yeah. And they only filmed on the D for 2 days.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
2 days of filming. That's all it took.
If I were a rich man, I'd have a whole D set. Like him in my backyard. I just build it.
You just play with D all day.
Play with D all day.
All day. So, my high point, I think, this episode was especially the resolution with all the characters. I think they nailed it. I think they had a 10 out of 10 for character resolution.
Absolutely. Well, except for one. We forgot all about one person at the beginning of the season. Which we don't necessarily need.
Laris?
Yeah.
She's waiting on Romulus for him. She's still waiting on... Oh, wait. No, there is no Romulus.
Yeah.
She's waiting on...
Whatever planet was in the first episode.
Yeah, I don't know.
But she's like, Picard.
She's waiting for him.
You're playing poker, bro. Come on.
And actually now I'm kind of glad they didn't focus too much on Crusher and him, because that would take away from the whole relationship he had.
Absolutely.
With Laris. And there was never a longing with Picard towards her. He didn't look at her like, oh, I've lost you. No, it was... Yeah. They understood.
They understood the relationship.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate. Again, I don't need romance in every single show I watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. What did work for you?
It ended strong.
It ended. Yeah.
I was very happy about that because those last 2 episodes where it was kind of like
They were fine, but they weren't.
they were fine. They were
I didn't like
good.
where it was trending.
Yeah, they were good,
resolution.
but they weren't great like I think most of the
Yeah.
season was.
Yeah.
And so they did a lot to repair my concerns and to finish strong.
Okay.
So overall, I think that it was the ending. I think the ending with the multiple kind of character moments at the end
Yeah.
was my biggest up.
Yeah, like the prologue. It was like 20 minutes of a prologue, which was great.
Which was fantastic.
We needed that. It was great.
I was
have that.
really worried it was going to end with the action and then
Your washer
Hey,
is
the
done.
washer's done, guys.
All right, cool.
I was really worried it was going to end and it was just going to be like no meat at the end. It was just going to be the action. And then they're going to say, hey guys, bye.
But you got their bar scene.
Yep. Got the bar scene, got the poker scene.
You got the goofy scene with Data going over
his therapy.
Counseling session.
You got Worf falling asleep on the bridge.
Worf falling asleep on the bridge was great.
He needed a nappy.
He needed a nap. He'd been shot multiple times. He'd saved the day. And Worf also revealing all that classified information about Rafi was great.
Yep.
That tells you something about Worf. He's a man about honor, and Rafi's been treated dishonorably.
And he even said, a man of great honor must have released that information.
Yeah, yeah. And their relationship was great. I'd watch a series with those two, honestly. That'd be great. So I would probably give this episode a 9.5.
Okay, I'm in the 9 area, I think.
Yeah, 9.5. Just more so the 9.5 part of it. It would be a 9, but like it's such a good resolution.
Yep.
It gets a 9.5. Standing on its own, it's not a perfect 10 episode. It can't be. It's still the Borg.
Yep.
It's still, going into the collective and being like, you're not alone, blah, blah, blah. We've heard this before.
I wasn't a big fan of that. If there's a big down for me, it's the going inside the collective and trying to talk Jack down. Like we've seen so many cliches about that over the years.
What's interesting, though, is he goes into the collective and she doesn't assimilate him. He's able to just walk around in the collective on his own. Picard is.
Maybe it's because Jack has more control at that point.
Yeah, because it's his collective more than it's the Queen's now. Yeah.
That's the way I kind of interpreted it.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Anyways, I really liked it. I dug it. I think it's a great conclusion. And now it's got me excited for Strange New Worlds.
Heck yeah, June 14th.
June 4th. Gosh, 2 months away,
Oh,
man.
bummer.
So excited.
At least we got the NFL draft between now and then.
Next week.
Yes, sir.
Thursday. Tune in for our NFL draft special.
We should do it for fun.
Oh, we're going to do an NFL draft special. Keeping up with the Kardashians draft
We'll
special.
just have a camera running in the corner.
You better watch out, folks. You're getting a draft special.
We apologize in advance.
Hey, thanks for tuning in with us, guys. It's been great catching up with you. We know we loved Star Trek Picard. Curious what you think.
We also have a number you can call us to tell us what you think. 734-494-0980.
Guess what? You can go on Twitter at Kardashians Pod. You can go to Instagram. You can even go to TikTok.
Well, we're on TikTok, y'all.
We're on TikTok, y'all. So find TikTok. We got some TikToks.
We got some TikToks.
So find us in those places. We love you guys. You're awesome. You're amazing. Give us your rankings of Picard.
And thanks for watching these.
Peace.
It's been fun.
Yep. Bye, all.